Welcome to the Gifted Application and Identification Process Parent Guardian Workshop. My name is Mrs. Kravchak, and I'm the Gifted Resource Teacher at White Oaks Elementary. If you have any questions, I'll be the one that you can chat with. I'm best through email with everything that's going on right now. So if you have any questions after watching this, please drop me an email. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If it seems like I'm reading off of a script, it is because I am. Virginia Beach, we want to make sure that we're giving all parents the same message. So you may see me look over, make sure I'm referencing my script and giving you all the information that I can. So our goals for this session are going to be to understand how to access the online gifted application, better understand the identification process that includes the gifted testing, application, and then the committees that meet for identification. So here's an overview of this process. We're going to look at these 5 steps, including screening, application, testing, eligibility, notification, and then placement. So in past years, every first and fifth grade student enrolled in Virginia Beach is screened at their elementary school by an assessment specialist from the gifted testing office in September through December. In the fall of 2021, gifted screening was suspended for fifth grade students and adjusted for first grade students. The screening instrument is called the Naglieri Ability Test. It is described by the publisher as being culture fair across gender, race, and ethnicity. This instrument uses shapes that are universal in nature. Parents or guardians of first grade students may access their child's screening score later this year. We're hoping for January. With us being home again right now, we don't know how it's going to impact first grade screening. I do know that fifth grade students will not have the screening due to COVID-19, and we will see how first grade goes. So while screening was suspended for fifth grade students, parents or guardians can still apply for their student to be considered for gifted services, both at White Oaks Elementary and at Old Donation School. You can initiate this process by submitting an online gifted application. The website is right there for you. It is also available on my website, which is where you just found this video. The application due date is Monday, January 11th by 5 o'clock p.m. So those applications will close at 5 o'clock p.m. on Monday, January 11th. So in previous years, the application was step 2, but because we don't have a gifted screening for fifth grade students, the application really is step 1. So anyone, any person, parent, teacher, anyone with knowledge of the child's abilities may refer him or her for additional testing and consideration by the eligibility committee. The online application is completed, and that submitted application initiates the next step. So when you open that application, you'll see you have some options, and Old Donation School is one of those options. So our fifth grade parents, you may be applying for your child only for Old Donation School for sixth grade because your child's already identified gifted, and you can check that box. For my parents that are applying and your child is not already identified eligible for gifted services, you may want them considered for Old Donation School or you may not. So that is an option for you. There are 2 different committees. The first will identify them eligible for gifted. If you would like your child's application to also go to Old Donation School to be considered for placement there for sixth grade, make sure you check that ODS box. So at every school in Virginia Beach, there is a highly trained gifted resource teacher, middle, high school as well. The GRT has extensive knowledge of the models and strategies for teaching gifted learners, curriculum development that includes rigor and challenge, and training in the social and emotional needs of gifted. They model lessons, coach teachers, and are skilled in recognizing gifted characteristics in students. They're the gifted leaders in their school. And the gifted resource teacher serves as a liaison between gifted testing and the school and the parents, and really helping everyone navigate this process. The online application has been revised In the past, there was a portion for parents to write a narrative, and that portion has been removed as recommended by gifted education experts and the National Association for Gifted Children. Also recommended was a revised teacher information portion, and this was developed and will be implemented this year. The classroom teacher and gifted resource teacher collaborate to create a strengths-based narrative for your child. The teacher will consider traits, attributes, and behaviors that may indicate giftedness and will give examples of how those are observed in the classroom. Teachers are asked to observe and give specific evidence and examples in each of the spaces provided, and each of those spaces follows one of these sections. So I'm going to go through these sections so you have an idea as to what your teacher will be looking for to collect evidence for your child's application. The first is communication and language. So they're looking for things like creative ways to communicate, advanced vocabulary, the way your child reads or has a sense of humor. The next is cognitive learning. So this is where they ask unusual questions. They're fluent with thinking. They master things quickly. They enjoy challenges. They adapt and analyze and think critically about different things. They're easily able to transfer. These are some of those examples that your teacher will be looking for. Next is creativity and imagination. So this is that intellectual playfulness, the risk-taking, improvising, and asking things that are just a little bit different, maybe preoccupied with their own original ideas. Next is social emotional. So this is the area where we'll be able to talk about perfectionism, or maybe the need for emotional support, or the leadership skills that some of these children have. Then motivation. So these are our overachievers, the ones that produce more than what's required, really has a desire to learn, takes advantage of opportunities, becomes really absorbed in interests. They're very motivated. Then our interests. So your teacher is going to be looking for some of the things that your child's excited about, engaged in, curious about, and how they pursue those interests. So the next step in the process is testing. Following the submission by the parent or guardian of the online application, first grade students who were screened using the Naglieri will only take the COGAT, which is the cognitive abilities test. Those are fifth graders. They may be taking both the Naglieri and the COGAT when the application is completed and the assessment specialist comes for testing. You'll be notified of the testing date by me. Now, there is a little bit of a change due to COVID when it comes to testing. If your child has been given these assessments in the most recent 2 years, so in fourth grade or in third grade, if the test was taken, they will not be taking the test again. If your child has not taken the cognitive abilities tests in the last 2 years, then they will be tested by the assessment specialist who comes. So that is for students in grades 2, 3, 4, and 5. So retesting will not be offered if testing is less than 2 years old. Now, the parent or guardian may also appeal the denial of retesting to the Gifted Identification and Placement Committee. So that is something else that you could do. You could talk to someone in the gifted testing office to get more information if that is something you're considering. So the best preparation for testing is a good night's sleep and a good breakfast. Really what is happening is they are creating a student profile that includes this test, this testing data, but as well includes the teacher input, the student interview, and any other academic achievement information. Step 4 is identification. The Gifted Identification and Placement Committee reviews all of this information. These are school personnel who have knowledge of gifted education administrators, guidance counselors, GRTs from elementary, middle, or high school levels, gifted assessment specialists, school psychologists, central office administrators. This committee thoroughly reviews the data on the student application using a multi-criteria approach, which basically means that no one piece of information can stop a child from being identified, and no one piece of information can have a child identified. So they're looking over all of the information to make a decision. Students identified for the intellectually gifted program are students who have outstanding abilities, are capable of high performance, and who require differentiated educational programs beyond those normally provided by regular school programs. The federal definition of gifted and talented comes from No Child Left Behind. And the Virginia Department of Education uses this definition for identification of students for general intellectual aptitude. These are the students who demonstrate high levels of accomplishment or who show the potential for high levels of accomplishment when compared to others of the same age, experience, or environment. Their aptitudes and potential for accomplishment are so outstanding that they require special programs to meet their educational needs, and these students will be identified by professionally qualified persons using multiple criteria as having potential or demonstrated aptitudes in one or more of the following areas: general intellectual aptitude or specific academic ability. The Virginia Plan for the Gifted requires that these areas are met in determining eligibility for gifted programs. Identification is based on multiple criteria established by the school division and designed to seek out those students with superior aptitudes, including students for whom accurate identification may be affected because they are economically disadvantaged, have limited English proficiency, or have a disability. So data shall include scores from valid and reliable instruments that assess students' potential for advanced achievement, as well as instruments that assess demonstrated advanced skills, conceptual knowledge, and problem-solving aptitudes. So overall, what this is telling you is that Virginia Beach is following not only our plan for the gifted, but also the state and the federal guidelines to identify students that have high intellectual potential or aptitude, using multiple criteria to determine eligibility for gifted, and also keeping in mind those students for whom that identification is affected for different reasons. Step 5 is notification and placement. Parents are notified by email. So the email that you put into the application will be the email that they use to communicate with you. And then you can access your child's testing. Once students are identified gifted in Virginia Beach, they hold that identification until graduation. If you have any questions at all, you can get in contact with me, but at the same time, you can call the Gifted Testing Office. They're also willing to help. Finally, we don't know what the future holds with COVID. So the ability to test in an in-person environment or other changes may come that we would have to accommodate the guidelines that we're given. And we're going to do the best that we can. However, we do want parents to know that we might have to pivot at some point. It's important for you not to be surprised when this happens, and we want you to be aware that there could be changes in testing procedures for the rest of the school year. And we will be communicating with you as soon as we know anything additional.